Hi, this is Nemesis Stars, and I've been to the cinema. Apparently, that's why I look like I'm changed at the moment. Because I just got changed. Yeah, so I have just been to see Insidious the Red Door, and oh my god, it is one of the best sequels. And such because it is like a direct sequel to the first and the second film, and it's incredible. Everything that goes on in the film, indicating on to do with Dalton and Josh. It has more of a bonding experience between the two. As they do a lot more as a father and son bonding thing, and it really works, especially bringing an enemy from the past, from the very first movie. Now that's a good way to bring him more into the story for like a revenge reunion. And it works, especially in bringing Josh's father into it. And whatever to close Josh's story as a astro projector, because his story is actually finished at this point with Josh, because he's connected with his long lost father, deceased father, and he's already fought the bride in the second film, so he's actually reached the road of his journey where he'll pretty much end it all together. So I'm actually assuming possibilities for the next Insidious film, which there's a possibility there is a chance of a sequel, because I've watched the end, the end scene, like a secret scene, and it definitely looks like there could be another sequel. But I'm actually thinking that Josh might die in the next one. That's what I'm assuming, because his story has come to a close. So I'm basically assuming he will probably die in the next one, to protect Dalton. Most likely, I think Dalton will be a full-grown adult in the next one. So I'm thinking he will take the mantle from his father and become the next one up to defend, him and his new girlfriend. So I'm actually assuming they'll probably might have a love relationship in the next one or something, where they work together or something like that. That's what I'm assuming. So there's a lot that could go down in the sequel. Like maybe Dalton's girlfriend gets kidnapped or something like that, and Dalton has to go for her or something. That's what I'm assuming. That's the only thing I can think of, because Dalton actually can astro project, and I don't think he'd forget anymore, especially his father not forgetting. But I do, again, reckon Josh will be killed off in the next film. Or maybe Carl might come into it, because he wasn't in the film much. So I'm actually thinking Carl might be the main focus of the next one or something, where he's killed off in some sort of way, allowing, for Dalton to develop even further as a character and whatever, and basically Josh ending his story arc to rest at Melee, since he did all he could for Dalton. So apparently that's clearly what I think right now. The mother, I don't think, would do much of anything else, but actually revisiting pasts, and whatever, since, as we know, Dalton doesn't remember much from his past still, so him developing more of that, in the next film or whatever, him developing all those memories and whatever, especially him actually more aware on what's going on, and him basically, knowing about what's happening. I mean, he's also already actually came to terms that the one that took over his father was actually the bride in black. So Dalton already knows that because he's experienced it so far, so he knows that already. Especially him experiencing his father going absolutely crazy from the second film. So he remembers all that. So he kind of also knows that, well, at first he would think that his father actually did go crazy, but he actually comes into term reality that his dad wasn't crazy. It was a ghost that took over his father, so he actually could come to term with that. So he knows that because he's went through similar things in the first movie, which he's turned to have again in the same in the film in the Red Door. So most likely he's actually become possessed at one point, and it looks brilliant. I'm watching it, and he's like, he's kind of like standing right next to his girlfriend, and whatever, like looking like all innocent and such, and then all of a sudden the light goes out a bit, and whatever, and his, in his mouth it looks like a creepy smile, and his eyes, oh god. I was like that the whole time. I was like, oh my god. Because that was creepy. Because when it makes me think of something, it makes me think of something that was in Man of Medan game, where you had this creepy sailor girl and she did the creepy smile, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's creepy. Yeah, because when Dalton did it, I was like, that is creepy. That is really, really creepy. They really outdone themselves. They actually did a fantastic job pulling off more of the creepy setting. Also, when Dalton was painting a picture, that jump scare came out as well and attacked his hand. Also, when Josh was in the CT scan or whatever you call it, because I've been in one of those before. Basically everything goes dark and he gets attacked, unfortunately. So it's kind of like a bonding moment for both of them, since it's to do with, again, to do with experiencing moments where everything comes for them and whatever, and everything starts happening, ghosts start coming for them and whatever. Stuff like that. That starts happening, and it's fantastic because it kind of allows the Dalton and Josh to like bond after what happened from the second film, so they get that more of that bonding time after Josh's wife thinks he's gone mental or something like that. But in a way, she doesn't actually think, he's crazy or anything like that. But still, didn't want. I mean, it was all the risk for the children and whatever, because the children were scared at the time. But the only one that knew about this was Dalton mainly, until they forgot, and then that's when Dalton became scared of the father mainly. Okay, so apparently, I definitely would be excited for a sequel. Yeah, so Blumhouse does a fantastic job with their Insidious films, and I'm happy by it, which is fantastic. And I'm also seeing another Blumhouse film, later this year in October, and it's Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm actually looking forward to that because that's based off the video game. Never actually played the video game, but I've seen people play the video game, and it's fantastic so far, I think. So that would be my next film for October. since it's to do with Halloween month, but the problem is I wouldn't watch it on cinema until I come back from Flamingo Land, because I am on holiday, unfortunately, and the movie's out on the 20-something, so I'd probably end up coming back, and then I'd have to, like, arrange to see it, like, a couple days after I come back, so yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's I think will be a good movie to take my grandparents to, and my sister, to see how my nana feels about this movie, if it's similar to the games, which I most likely it will, because it's based off the games, and this might get, like, an award for being one of the best game movies, so, oh my gosh. I mean, Blumhouse definitely has the potential to make great films, and I'm thinking they could probably do even more if they're doing a Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm actually thinking, what have they made more types of horror based around different, like, game sort of elements? And I'm thinking, maybe Silent Hill. Because Silent Hill's kind of like a creepy, change with reality mainly, where it just changes walls and whatever, so maybe Silent Hill would work, with them doing it. Because they definitely do a great job with the designs of, like, enemies and stuff like that, and, the dead and whatever and all that stuff. And I think they could work on that, if they, basically, when they actually, after Five Nights at Freddy's or something, they might do something similar, I think, based off the games. But, oh my god, Blumhouse are excellent, and I actually would recommend them to, like, actually do a Silent Hill film, after Five Nights at Freddy's, because even they do a fantastic job with the Insidious films, and I've never felt disappointed by the films so far, you know what I mean? Because the films, basically, by them, are actually brilliant. They actually get me every time. The jump scares actually do get me, because the Insidious films actually can be scary when jump scared, at me. I mean, I don't get it a lot, but I do get it sometimes, a little bit now and again. So I'm actually hoping they keep at it, they keep at their progress with the films, and maybe one day do a Silent Hill film, which most likely I would probably watch it if they do it, based off, maybe something based off the actual video game, that's a bit more canon to the video game, maybe, like, actually have a Harry or something like that, like an actual Harry Mason going through Silent Hill, having the similar elements of the original, also having the, having Lisa Garland and whatever, encountering him, having a story connection and all that stuff and whatever, and, all that stuff. Obviously, they'd probably have some sort of change, probably by adding in Pyramid Head, I reckon, because Pyramid Head would be a good twist, I think, in their direction. I also think they might do something more with the nurses, I'm guessing, if they did. Also probably something more with Heather, maybe, and keep the series going with, around those characters and whatever, and keep the story interesting. That's what I'm guessing. They also could do House the Dead, I think, because House the Dead would also be another example of what, things to do, I think, because they obviously probably might be able to do stuff like that, I think. I mean, there's a lot of games that basically they couldn't plan on making a movie about, which I think would actually work for them to do in live action, since they actually are great at doing this sort of stuff. I mean, we can literally tell by the, like them going down the game route of Five Nights at Freddy's, so maybe it could work for them creating game versions, like live action versions of the games, making them actually great and whatever. So, I mean, because if Five Nights at Freddy's is a success, they might make direct sequels going in order, making more and more of those films and whatever, and becoming big hits, and more games would get like live action movies from them and whatever. I also think the possibilities like, what if they actually made a Resident Evil film as well, in the mix? Like, getting actual characters, to go with those roles and whatever. I kind of think it would be a good idea because they probably add jump scares in there and making the story great and whatever. They do a good job with, characters. They make the characters interesting and that's instead of boring mainly. So usually their characters would actually be more interesting, I reckon. So they kind of would probably look on the video games and make them interesting. I mean, you can literally tell from the Five Nights at thingy, whatever, that they didn't seem to have messed up Freddy or whatever, so maybe it could work. Maybe. So apparently back to Insidious the Red Door. My rating for this at the moment would actually have to be a 10 out of 10. I actually really enjoyed it, and such. And I know pretty much, my sister actually enjoyed it 10 out of 10. She basically says it was the best Insidious film so far. As for my Nana though, she says the second one's better. But my granddad, he's the same really. He thinks the second one was better. But I still think the Red Door was better for me. I think it's because of the story mainly in it. I mean, again, evolving around the son and father, so so I think that's all I gotta say as of right now. So I think the next movie reaction in the future, I think one of the movie reactions I probably one of the movie interviews I'll probably talk about would be the will probably be Five Nights at Freddy's, I think, or might be Death Island, I think, because Death Island I'll probably watch next because that was out pretty much today from what I read. So I think it'll be Death Island, and then when another film comes to mind, I'll probably review that one, and then as it goes on, eventually it'll come to Five Nights at Freddy's and actually review that one in the end. But I'll probably review Five Nights at Freddy's in October, I think. So most likely I'll probably review that one in October. Something like that. I'll at least then give my thoughts on the movie as a whole, and stuff like that. So I usually make reviews on good movies, or movies that actually seemed absolutely brilliant to interview, and such. So I actually do recommend that anyone that hasn't seen Insidious the Red Door and has actually watched the others, I recommend to go see it. It's good. For anyone that hasn't watched the Insidious films and is new, and actually, like literally anyone that actually hasn't seen these Insidious films and actually is into like Annabelle and whatever, like ghosts mainly, I'd recommend see the Insidious films. They're awesome. They're actually a great series of films. So like, most of the films that take place after the second one are actually prequels. So they're more prequels, really, like 3 and 4 and whatever. They're actually prequels to 1 and 2. So, best thing is to put those names into order. Mainly, like put them before 1 and 2 in order, so then each film would count as like an actual prequel and whatever. So that would be 1, 2, 3, and whatever, and then you basically put the red door as the last one, which would basically be a direct sequel. So yeah, so apparently that's all they've got to say as of right now, and so yeah, peace out.